Hey everyone, I got a kind of different video for you today. This one is about a digital card game called Hearthstone. In particular, a mode of Hearthstone called Battlegrounds, and even more particular, a streamer of Battlegrounds called Kripp. Now, I enjoy watching Kripp. He comes on at a very convenient time for me, and he's entertaining. He also, like many other digital card game streamers, to be fair, complains a lot, right, about how unlucky he gets during the game. Like I said, it's not unique to Kripp, but he definitely does it. It is entertaining when he does it, by the way. I find it funny. And because I know that there are times he definitely gets unlucky, but there are also times he gets lucky. And in the end, I'm sure all of these regress towards the mean. But of course, he only raises a stink about the times he gets unlucky. And so I thought, you know what? I wish someone out there would, compile the data from his battle logs during battleground matches, right? And they could save them into a file, right? And then they could identify which combats he was lucky, when he was unlucky, by how much, right? And then they could put that in a spreadsheet, and we could then analyze exactly how lucky versus unlucky he really was. I would love if someone made that kind of spreadsheet. So here's a spreadsheet of Kripp's battle logs from the last week. By the way, this isn't going back all the way. This is just 5 days of data that I've compiled from watching Kripp's matches. So let's just dive straight in. All right. So over here, you can see this is the hero that Kripp was playing. Right, this is the day Kripp played that hero, and this is the time that Kripp played that hero in Japan Standard Time. I don't know why I included that, but I did. Here is each turn of the game, and you can see that this is a living document, right? I started off just having who he played and the result of his games. Later on, I decided to add in damage versus expected damage, right? So here you see he dealt 12 damage to Master Win when he was expected to deal 16 to 25. And he dealt 20 damage to Togwaggle when he was expected to deal 14 to 19. I then continued that I expanded that further in later rounds. And then even later, I decided to start including the opponent's placings. Now, early on in the game, it doesn't really mean anything other than the opponent's armor rank, right? That's how you're ranked. But then later on, I think it does kind of mean something. You can see in rounds 9 and 10, he faced against the second place hero in a row, and then he played against the 5th placed hero twice in a row, right? He often complains about, oh man, I'm only facing people in 1st, 2nd, or 3rd place. And actually, here it was true, to be fair to Kripp. Okay, then what numbers haven't I explained? The negative numbers, that is damage he took, right? So he took 7 damage from the Rat King here when he was expected to take 6 to 9 damage, right? And so that is how we read this chart for the letters and numbers. But as you can see, there are also colors. So as I flashed a bit earlier, here is our color key. If the cell has no color, it's just a plain white cell, that means combat happened as expected. If it is a yellow cell, Kripp got lucky. What does getting lucky mean? So it's obviously subjective, but here is my thought process of it. If he beat the odds by under 25%, that was lucky. So if he was, let's say, 33% to win, 17% to tie, 50% to lose, and he won, that's lucky. If he was 10% to win, right, 90% to lose, and he won, that is super lucky. Now, obviously, the breakpoints, again, are arbitrary, subjective. You might have different opinions, but basically, if he beat the odds, he got one of these two. And oppositely, if he did not beat, if the odds beat him, is that how you say that? If he lost from the expected result up to 25%, it was unlucky. More than 25%, super unlucky. For example, in this combat, I believe, as Sire Denathrius versus Xyrella, he was expected to win that, I think, like 80%, and Xyrella tied on like a 10% chance or something, and so that was super unlucky. Even though it was still just a tie and Kripp didn't take any damage from that combat, I still marked it as super unlucky, right? Then we have our 50-50s. Oh, those dreaded 50-50s, which happen quite often, to be honest. These light blue patches mean he won the 50-50. And when I say won the 50-50, the number on the tracker, which keeps track of the odds to win, tie, or lose combat, the 50 is only on the win column. The tie or lose can be anything else, any other number, and if he won that, that was winning a 50-50. On the other side, if the number was lose by 50% chance, or let's be real, around 53% chance, that's a 50-50. So I would choose lost a 50-50, regardless of what the win or tie numbers were. This right here, this gray, this is he tied, but was 50% chance to win, 50% chance to tie. So, wait, no. This was he was 50% to lose, 50% to tie, because he didn't lose the 50-50. But that's too long to put in one cell, and I'm not going to expand it for aesthetic reasons. So he lostn't a 50-50, right? Like here. All right, and then right here, he had a 50% chance to win, 50% chance to tie, but he tied, so he wouldn't the 50-50. Did not win the 50-50. Again, also didn't fit in the cell, also not expanding the cells because it looks awful. So that's all for 50-50s. I have this brown color here in even tie. That just means that the game ended in a tie. Oh, look at this. Jailer both of those first times. And the odds to win and the odds to lose were the same. So it could have been like 33, 33, 33. It could have been 25, 50, 25. Could have been 30, 40, 30. Doesn't matter as long as it tied and the odds to win and lose were the same. It could have even been 40, 20, 40. But I don't know if that actually happened. Doesn't really indicate luck or lack thereof, but I just thought it was an interesting result of combat, so I decided to include it. Anyway, now let's move on to the colors for damage. You'll see this neon green, good damage. What that means is he dealt more damage than was expected. For example, 20 versus the 14 to 19 expected against Togwaggle here, or he took less damage than was expected against Greybow down here. He only took 4 when he was expected to take somewhere between 5 and 9. And conversely, the bad damage. He dealt less damage than was expected. For example, against Master Win here, 12 versus the expected 16 to 25, or he took more damage than was expected. For example, he took 10 damage against Gallywix here when he was expected to take 5 to 7. So that covers all of the things that I kept track of. So the only thing left to do is to tally it all up and see exactly how unlucky or lucky was Kripp. And here are our totals. Kripp was lucky 13 times in the last 5 days, and super lucky 15 times. That might sound weird, and I have to explain why. It's because there is that leeway of, like, you know, let's be real, a 45% chance to win is a 50-50, right? And so, actually, there is more space in the super lucky because it goes from, like, you know, 0.1% to 25, whereas lucky really just covers, like, 26 to basically 44, right? I kind of assumed that still there would be more results within the lucky bracket, but I don't know. Again, lucky versus super lucky is an arbitrary stat. The important thing to do is to count them up together, which would be 28. And how many times was he unlucky and super unlucky? 7 and 11. Only 18. He was lucky 10 more times than he was unlucky. He also won 2 more 50-50s than he lost. He lost and winnent just as many, right? 4 and 4. 7 even ties. Again, no indication of his luck or lack thereof. Just thought it was a very interesting result. And finally, this was really cool. Actually, an equal number of times the damage was in his favor versus the damage not being in his favor. But yeah, so there is the data. Yeah, again, it's not super precise, right? Obviously, there's a lot more to Hearthstone Battlegrounds than just combat RNG. There's tavern RNG. Who do you play later on, as I mentioned. But yeah, strictly from the combat RNG, I don't know, Kripp. You know, things aren't as bad as they seem.